Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo.
On this episode of the History of the Chorus podcast with Curtis and Josh, we finish our look at the band known as Alexisonfire. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. Make sure to check us out on TikTok and give us a follow at IsSurvivedByProductions. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta, army surrounded.
Sweet Lady Liberty, you are lost, though you are free, and what hides beneath? I can't tell the wolves from the sheep. Josh, welcome back to another grand episode of the History of the Chorus podcast, where each and every episode we take a look at the history of a band from the chorus genre. What's up, Josh?
Hello.
Co-host Josh.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Doubtfire, Mrs. Josh, Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yep.
Yo, what going on? What it do?
Another Sunday full of the band that we're going to be talking about today. Only today I didn't have to go to work. So
nice. I wonder if you're off or not. Okay. Nice. Did you know you have a giant bird behind you? Perched on top of you. Ah! Don't peck my eyes out, please.
Is it ants where it's the giant, they're dealing with the giant bird? Or is it Bug's Life?
I think it's a Bug's Life.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a Bug's Life.
That was what that immediately made me think of.
Shoo! That's a throwback. Wow.
Bug's Life?
Both of those, man.
Oh,
Just thinking about both of those growing up, man. Yeesh. We highly recommend those movies. Go check them out.
I haven't watched either of those in
terrible animation.
I don't even know how long. Probably like 20 years.
Been a long, long time. Hey, Josh.
I just hear somebody repost the Hopper's speech every now and again.
Give it to us.
You know Hopper's speech, right?
No.
It's I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's essentially like he was like, it's when they're in the little bar or whatever, and there's like, it's just one ant, like they can't stand up to us, And then he's like, "Oh, just one ant, right?" And he like pulls out that acorn or whatever, and
that's right, yeah,
throws it at the guy. And he was like, "That didn't hurt, right?" And he's like, "No, not at all." He's like, "Oh, what about this though?" And like busts off the whole thing, and it crushes him. He was like, "Yeah." It was like just one ant is weak, but when they are all together, like they could topple us.
United.
And so every now and again, like, yeah, somebody will post that.
Nice.
It's like, yeah.
Fun
stuff.
Fun stuff. Hey, let's talk about some more fun stuff. Today, we are continuing and finishing our Canadian invasion by finishing our look at the band known as Alexisonfire. Well, I know you got some things to say, Josh. Do you want to go and just talk about some stuff now, or do you want to wait till we get to those?
Let me say this. The best is behind us.
Yes, I would agree with that. I like this next album, but
I do really enjoy Old Crows, Young Cardinals. But after that, I'm pretty much checked out. And
you didn't
like the last album, I was furious.
It's
furious
such a different
listening
style.
To every track. And they wait until the next to last track to give you anything at all, like give you anything that jams a little bit. very, very disappointed.
What about Dog's Blood? Did you like that EP?
Dog's Blood's okay.
Okay.
Um,
But you can tell
yeah,
it's
that
starting to trend. I mean,
yeah,
of
and
course,
like
by that time,
beyond
it's
that,
that's an experimental album in itself. And then yeah, it's just like beyond that, it's just kind of like, okay, where are we going here? What are we doing?
yeah, pretty rough. Pretty
Yeah,
rough over those
it's just
next
interesting.
couple.
I don't hate the last album.
I
It's just got a
really don't
different
care for it.
it's got a different feel. I mean, I probably put it on just to like play it in the background just to have something going, but yeah, I'm not
See,
jamming out to that.
I was gonna say that I could see you liking that album if it was by a different band. Like if it was not an Alexis on Fire album, because like that's not really what you're looking for in Alexis on Fire.
So for me personally, and I can expand on it later on, but like to me, that album, the sound and everything, it sounded like Dallas Green's City in Color, especially like the last few albums where it got like really bluesy.
Okay.
And I mean, there's just a lot of like his vocals on Otherness more than George's. And so I don't know, it sounds almost like a City in Color album that just like went kind of a little heavier than normal.
Okay.
So that's just kind of my opinion. I'm don't know what your experience is with City in Color, but
Not
um
really anything. I think I've heard a
yeah.
couple of their songs, but
Yeah, I think it's I know whoa. Let's see. Okay, it's 2015 album, If I Should Go Before You. There's a lot of like bluesy vibes in that. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like from there and beyond in his discography of City and Color, I just feel like it's just like this last album is like part of City and Color, but just like a little heavier, and you got some of George's unclean vocals in there too, you know.
okay.
I don't know. Anyway, we can talk about that more when we get there, but so when we left off, our lineup looked like this: George Petit on unclean vocals, Dallas Green on clean vocals and guitar, Wade McNeil on guitar and vocals, Chris Steele on bass, and Jordan Hastings on drums. And the last album that we talked about was Crisis. Following the success of that album, the band once again was given opportunities at spreading their name by playing festivals such as Warped Tour, Taste of Chaos Tour, Saints and Sinners Festival,
Taste of
Soundwave.
Chaos, yeah.
Yeah, that's a throwback right there. Do they even do
Yeah.
that tour anymore?
I seriously doubt it.
I never even hear about that anymore. Uh, Saints and Sinners Festival, Soundwave Festival, and many more. And by this time, the band had toured with bands such as Every Time I Die, Cancer Bats, Anti Flag, Seosin, Norma Jean, Monine, Envy on the Coast, The Deer and Departed, and many, many others. It's a nice little list there. Of course, you got your Canadian brothers in Cancer Bats and Monine. And I think is Anti Flag Canadian? I think they are, aren't they?
I don't know, but I feel like every one of these bands that we've been like, are those guys Canadians too? They
Are those guys
definitely
Canadian?
are.
Yeah, I think they are, but I can't remember. At the Caspi Awards, Crisis won Favorite New Indie Release, and the song This Could Be Anywhere in the World won Best Cinematography and was nominated for Best Rock Video at the 2007 Much Music Video Awards.
Annie
So once
Flags
again,
from Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, okay. So yeah, once again, kind of like what we talked about in the last episode, it seems like every album that they've done up to this point is just winning awards, going gold and platinum certified. They're just doing a really good job up to this point so far in their discography. Now, after extensive touring and success of Crisis, the band would find themselves focusing more on their successful side projects. For example, Dallas Green's City in Color, which I think up to this point in 2007, 2008, he had released about 2 or 3 albums, I think, on his solo stuff. No, it'd just be two. So he had 2005 sometimes, and then 2008's Bring Me Your Love. But by that point, that second album, he was really becoming popular with his solo project. It was taking off. And then Wade McNeil had his side project, which was the band known as Black Lungs, which we actually talked about in our Cancer Bats episode. Cancer Bats and Black Lungs did a split together. At this point, with the success of those two side projects and the band kind of going quiet, the fans were starting to wonder if the band would ever release another album together, or if we'd seen the last of Alexisonfire. How mad would you be if they just decided to stop after Crisis? I think that would have been a good way to end it. I mean, if they had to, you know.
I always say it's much better to go out on top and on a great album and then just leave me wanting more. I can deal with the fact that you never put out another album after an amazing one. What I
Right.
can't deal with is when you continue to pump out shit albums. Like I can't deal with that.
Yeah.
Like just make it stop.
What if they? So let me ask you this: if, because obviously it's no secret you don't like Otherness. Um,
I don't
what
like
if they
the album Otherness.
the album Otherness?
Huh?
Sorry, huh? It's a confusing day here at the History of the Chorus podcast. Um, if they just decided, yeah, we're done after this album, would you be okay with that? Or no, that may not be what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is because you're saying you'd like it for you to end on a high note and leave me wanting more rather than pump out several bad albums and make me sit here and think you should have stopped earlier. So would you be okay with them stopping now that you don't like Otherness, or would you be even more pissed if they decide now we're going to continue on, we're going to throw out about 3 or 4 more albums?
I mean, I guess I'd rather they just stop now, but the damage is done.
Yeah.
They need a time
Yeah.
machine. And I would say too, like, I would still like to get Old Crow's Young Cardinals out of them. Like, I would be okay even if that is their last album.
Right.
But beyond that, I'm just kind of like,
Yeah. Speaking of which, Old Crows and Young Cardinals, 2009's Old Crows, Young Cardinals from Dine Alone Records in Canada and Vagrant Records in the United States, produced by Julius Buddy, who we talked about in the last episode, and also the members of Alexisonfire. Now, on the work the band had put in to get ready to record the album, guitarist Wade McNeil had this to say, quote, "For the first time ever, we have too many songs, but we only got 10. So I don't, or we only got 11 plus a couple of bonus tracks. So I'm not really sure what his definition of too many songs is or what happened to
maybe
all
some
those
of
other
them
ones.
spilled over to Dog's Blood. I
Dog's
can't
Blood.
imagine any of them spilled over into those other
Mm,
few albums because they don't fit with this album.
But maybe that's why they didn't make this album, though.
Maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, songs on this album include Old Crows, Young Cardinals, Sons of Privilege, Born and Raised, No Rest, The Northern, Midnight Regulations, Emerald Street, Heading for the Sun, Accept Crime, and the finisher Burial, plus 3 bonus tracks, a demo version of Young Cardinals, Two Sisters, and Wayfarer Youth. Let me hear it, Josh. 2009's Old Crows, Young Cardinals. What's your opinion? What say ye? The Cardinal is watching.
I guess I've got two main beefs with the second block here.
He's got some
with
beefs.
with the episodes that we're gonna or with the albums that we're gonna cover in this episode. One being that other than Old Crows and Dog's Blood, musically, none of the rest of this hits for me. Aside from those two, I recognize that what they're doing is good and like that it's just not what I came here for. Like it's not what I came to an Alexisonfire album for. Um, And then my second problem is that I can't tell, and I'm not sure they know what they're going for lyrically in this second block here.
There's a lot of confusion at times.
Like, there's no similarities in these kind of lyrics and the stuff from their previous albums.
Right.
Like, virtually nothing. And I get it, like a band can grow and change, and you're going to talk about different things. I always will go back to this is going to be our cornerstone for these arguments is the stick to your guns argument. They don't want to play This Is More. Like, they don't want to play that
Yeah.
because, yes, while it is it's a good message, he openly admits that he didn't know what the message was, like then. Like, he didn't fully understand
I was just trying to write a
all of
song and
that.
be cool, you know?
Yeah, so that's fine. But we get into some really confusing territory here over these next couple albums. And it starts about halfway through Old Crows, where through the first few tracks, I'm like, man, I forgot. Like, this is a banger. Like, this is a really good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Old Crows, Young Cardinals. What's the one right after that? Sons of
Sons of
Privilege.
Privilege.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sons of Privilege is great. Born and Raised, No Rest. And then we start getting to a confusing point here in the Northern where I start asking myself, I'm like, okay, are they like a Christian metalcore band? I'm like, I didn't ever remember reading that. I don't see them labeled anywhere like that.
Right.
And I don't really see it talked about anywhere. So I'm kind of confused. Then, the next couple tracks we're kind of seeing some of the same stuff, but then I think it's Accept Crime, isn't it? Where the lyrics at the end of the track are there's no police between two beating hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so confusing. It's like, okay, so what are you trying to do on? Because like they break out into like a full on like gospel, basically, man. Gospel song on the Northern. Because like I told you, it's based. I mean, it's kind of like the foundation of it, like musically or whatever, is kind of based around an actual hymn.
Yeah.
You know.
And so it takes like a
Like what?
confusing turn here. Yeah. And and especially when it's not talked about anywhere and they're not labeled anywhere as like a Christian metalcore band, or at least an
Right.
album might be labeled as Christian metalcore. It doesn't even have to be like the whole band, but um so yeah, I get really confused over the next couple albums. But like I said, this is one of the ones that still hits musically for me. There are tracks in here that are stick to your gunsy, like very this is a place of acceptance, but that's why it's so confusing. But there's also these like really heavy, I don't even want to say religious overtones because, or I don't, wrong inflection. I don't really want to say religious overtones because it's kind of like right in your face on
Yeah.
some of these songs. So I don't know. It just gets to a confusing point for me where I'm like, I'm not sure what you guys are going for. And I would be happier just knowing one way or the other, you know,
Yeah.
rather than not knowing.
So I was trying to look up. Just trying to look up, see if there was like some more. So, hmm. They play. I don't. I mean, a lot of people are kind of like like in terms of like the northern, they're kind of pointing towards kind of the bluesy sound, I guess. And like this one person said something about if you read interviews with the band, they say they wanted to pay homage slash respects to the roots of the music that they play. Upon researching it themselves, they found that their roots go back to the song like Roll Jordan, which is the hymn that I'm talking about. which this song is based off. It is simply a respectful nod to where it all started. You can't change history, folks. So I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going on. I don't know. I like it. I mean,
Weird.
I like the song. And I like this album. I mean, this is to me, this is another album, just like all the other ones that we talked about in the last episode, that I can just put it on and go front to back and not really skip a beat, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I felt like when I remember the first time I listened to this and Old Crows started, I really kind of felt like at first I was like, this may be changing. It's maybe different than what they're doing. I was kind of skeptical at first, but yeah, I listened to it a couple of times when it first came out back in 2009. I was like, okay, yeah, this is really good. It still sounds, I mean, it feels like they're going in a little bit of a different direction musically, kind of, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still a good album. If favorite, I'm gonna probably say, and they're all just so good. But I'm probably gonna say Midnight Regulations. I like singing along with that one. That was really good.
Okay.
Really good one. Um, hmm, yeah, that's all I got to say about it. That's all I got to say about that, Jenny. You got anything else for Old Crows, Young Cardinals?
No, I mean my favorite's probably Young Cardinals.
It's a good one too.
There's it's that drum solo like right before the last time they go back through the chorus.
Yeah,
I don't think it's
that
that
was
long,
exactly it.
but it's just like around the whole time.
Yeah,
Like he
up
just
and around, all
goes all
around.
the way around a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then yeah, just hard like on the crash when it comes back.
Na, 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 na. Yes. You know, it's funny because do you remember I mentioned in the last episode when their drummer Jordan Hastings joined the band after their first drummer left? He came from a ska band, and man, there's a lot of times that are like I can hear it in some of like the intricacies that of like his drumming. It's very technical and different stuff. Like you hear little like he'll hit the China a lot of times, little beats here and there. I mean, just very it sounds like he was in a ska band at times,
Okay.
To me personally, I can
Yeah.
see that. So, really good drummer. He's one of my favorite drummers for sure. Really good. Alrighty. That's 2009's Old Crows, Young Cardinals. In 2008, Dallas Green commented on the band's next venture, saying the songs he had started to write would take the band in new weird territories. I said, oh wait, I meant to say oh nine,
That's
because this is
certainly
after.
true.
Yes, because this is after Young Cardinals, Old Crows, Young Cardinals. The band would announce the release of their newest EP at the 2009 Verge Awards, where the band was also nominated for Artist of the Year. And their previous album, Old Crows, Young Cardinals, was nominated for Album of the Year and also was nominated for Rock Album of the Year at the 2010 Juno Awards, which takes us to 2010's Dog's Blood EP from Dine Alone Records in Canada, Roadrunner Records in the UK, and Vagrant Records in the United States. Produced by John Drew and members of Alexisonfire. Kind of like the statement before from Dallas Green, this is a collection of songs too weird or out of the norm for the band's well-known sound. So you can technically label this one an experimental album. And the songs include Dog's Blood, which features Ollie Mitchell of Johnny Truant. You also have Gray, which I don't know if you knew this or not, Josh, or if you noticed it. There's actually a line from Young Cardinals in this song that they reused.
In the gray.
So yeah, So they reuse the line from Young Cardinals that goes, "Ghost of old love are blowing through the pines, nicotine babies are being born with no spines."
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you have Black as Jet, and then you have the finisher, which is the instrumental track Vex. Um, yeah, Dog's Blood. Let's hear it, Josh.
Let me start by saying I don't enjoy an instrumental track on the end of an album as much as I used to.
Okay.
I used to really love those.
Give an example, because I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Even like I feel like Norma Jean is like infamous for doing them.
So, would you consider then, because there are vocals in it, would you consider No
Yeah, but it's
Passenger, No Parasite?
predominantly
It's predominantly instrumental.
yeah, if it's mostly instrumental and there's like two lines at the end of the song, you don't count.
Okay.
Don't count
Okay.
those
So that's
as
okay. I'm just trying to figure out what year. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Um I don't know. I just used to I used to enjoy at the end of an album, like hearing one of those, but I just don't as much anymore. I've told you before, I want an album to end like with me like, oh, and then that's the end of the album. And then I'm like, oh man, like it's so good, so good. I don't want to I don't want a slow track at the end of the album that maybe builds to something a little bit heavy at the end. And I also don't want it to be like 12 fucking minutes long.
Yeah. When you
Like
were
that's the other thing. It drives me fucking crazy.
when you were describing how you want to feel for an end of a song, all I could picture is, I mean, you were kind of almost going like verbatim there. All I could picture was Stan, or not Stan, what's his dad's name?
Randy Marsh.
Randy Marsh, when he needs the internet and they're at like that
Oh my God.
that camp, and he sneaks in there to look at the internet. Yeah, that's all I could think of. Because you're kind of
Uh,
making the noises too, man. It's just like, oh boy. Ah, geez.
uh,
Yeah, I like a good instrumental track. And I'm into like the bands that are like all instrumental and no vocals, like We Lost the Sea and Explosion in the Sky, Strawberry Girls, stuff like that. But and I really like Vex as an instrumental track, but I didn't really like it as the ending because it just didn't fit. I mean, I kind of feel like you could make the song feel like, okay, this is the end of the album, even if it's going to be an instrumental track. But I didn't feel like, all right, this is the last song. It feels like it's like an interlude. It should be an interlude between songs, you
yeah.
know. Um, Besides, I think Black is Jet to me was like the my least favorite. I like all four. I like all four songs on this album. But I really liked Vex and Dog's Blood and Gray. And I remember when I first heard that line in Gray that they used from Young Crow or yeah, Young Cardinal, it was like, oh. It was almost like uh Leonardo DiCaprio in what's it, the Hollywood? Yeah, 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 exactly. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Wolf of Wall Street.
Was that no, that wasn't Wolf. No, that's not Wolf. That's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Were you gonna say something else about Dog's Blood besides the instrumental?
No, I mean I do like it's okay. Like it's an okay album.
It's different.
Um
I mean,
I
they really let George shine on this album with his
yeah,
unclean vocals, man. Which
that
is
is
funny
one
because
thing
go ahead.
I was gonna say it's one thing that I can say through all the albums is at least consistent is that um Dallas's clean vocals are like it's the one thing that kind of like ties it all together for me, you
Mm.
know, like that still makes it at least kind of feel like Alexisonfire. Um, but and
His
then
vocals are a big, yeah, are a big part of it for sure.
yeah, Because it's exactly the same from the beginning, like the first album to
I see, but I didn't.
the last
And I
one.
said in the last episode too. I didn't think that I didn't recognize his vocals until Watch Out. See, I feel like personally on Alexis on Fire, the self-titled album, that it didn't sound like him to me. It sounded like he was still searching. It sounded like he was about to go through puberty. Maybe I don't know. It's like
I don't know.
he hadn't.
I feel like they
That's
sound
just
pretty
my personal
similar to
opinion.
me.
That's
It
just
just
my
sounds like
personal
a
opinion.
younger version, you know?
Yeah,
Like the
yeah.
style is the same.
Right. I
Like he
didn't
never changes
recognize
that.
it. Yeah, I didn't recognize it. No, I think he gets. I mean, especially when we get to otherness, you start to hear him be a little more bluesy again. Going back to the whole bluesy thing, his voice kind of changes a little bit.
A little bit.
Um, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, he stays consistent with his style and everything. So, alrighty, that's 2010's Dogs Blood EP. All right, people, fasten your seatbelts because we're going on a hiatus journey here. With the success of Alexis on Fire up to this point and the success of Dallas Green's solo project, City and Color, the guitarist felt he needed to leave the band after having a nervous breakdown trying to make both the bands work. Um, which is interesting.
That's
I mean,
fair.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Especially if you're trying to like tour both bands and
Yeah, and they do a lot of touring in Alexis on Fire, and I don't know about his solo stuff touring wise, but definitely Alexis on Fire. They do a lot of touring up to this point. At the conclusion of Old Crow's Young Cardinals tour, he would announce his plan to leave the band to the rest of the members, not publicly, but just to the members of the band, not wanting to make it public until the band had decided what its future was going to be amongst the rest of the members.
right. Are we going
After,
on without him or
yeah, well, we're gonna find out. After Dog's Blood EP was released, the band made it sound like everything was fine, announcing that the new material was coming and it would be so, quote, so heavy it's going to make Dog's Blood look like a ska record. What does that even mean? Break that down for me, Josh. So heavy it's going to make Dog's Blood look like a ska record.
well, I'm like confused because where the fuck did that album go?
What do you mean?
You said they're gonna release it like they're gonna be working on an album that's gonna make this one
Oh,
look
yeah,
like
yeah,
a
yeah,
pussy
yeah, yeah.
fest.
Right. That's what I thought too when I was doing all this. I was like,
Yeah, where'd that
where'd it
one go?
go?
Because the one after this, they completely go the opposite direction, and
That's
it's
what I
like,
was thinking. It's
yeah,
a
way
chill out.
softer.
Yeah.
Is that a joke?
Uh,
Is it being ironic?
it's an April Fool's Day. Did anybody get you on April Fool's?
No.
Good. New material never came. Well, it didn't come, at least at this time. Instead, an announcement of disbandment was released to the public. Yeah. We're
It's gonna be
still
the
trying to find
heaviest
it.
shit you've ever heard. Actually, guys, we're breaking up.
Unclean vocalist George Petit described the breakup as not being amicable, citing the departures of Dallas to focus on his solo career and his nervous breakdown. Wade McNeil joining the band Gallows. You ever heard of Gallows, Josh?
Yep.
Yeah. So here I lie in the belly of a shark. That is a classic. Um, yeah, Wade McNeil would be joining the band Gallows as the new vocalist, and he would also be continuing his work on his side project Black Lungs. And then the remaining members were also dealing with personal issues within themselves. The band at that time planned to do a series of final shows celebrating their 10-year anniversary / farewell. But for Dallas Green, his final show, in his words, happened 2 years prior when he first announced to the band his departure. A year after the breakup announcement, Green was in talks with other members of the band to do a proper send-off tour, stating, quote, "When we did play our last show, nobody knew it was our last show." So kind of what he's saying here is that last show that he's talking about is what he described as his last show. So this whole planning of trying to do a series of final shows to celebrate their 10-year anniversary and farewell never really came about. And so again, a year after their breakup, they got back together and said, "Hey, let's do this properly." So their farewell tour started off as just 9 shows, but quickly turned from 9 shows into 30 shows across Canada, the UK, Australia, and Brazil. All right, that takes us to 2012's Death Letter EP from Dying Alone Records, self-produced by the band Alexisonfire, recorded only with Dallas Green on vocals and guitar and Wade McNeil on vocals and guitar. And this is a collection of songs reworked from their discography. Those songs include Born and Raised, Midnight Regulations, You Burn First, Accept Crime, Burial, Happiness by the Kilowatt, and bonus tracks Boiled Frogs and The Northern. My one complaint, well, I don't know. One complaint that sticks out to me is I would have liked to see a little more pre-crisis songs, because there's only one song that came before Crisis, and that's Happiness by the Kilowatt, and that was off of Watch Out. Would like to see some more mixture of like all 4 albums,
Yeah.
Instead, we get a heavy dose of Old Crow's Young Cardinals. Let's see, 2 songs if you're including the bonus tracks from Crisis, and then 1 song from Watch Out. And then, okay, here's my other complaint. Why are you doing a stripped down version of Burial? I don't understand, because it's basically already kind of a stripped down version on the album already.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't understand that, and I thought that was a waste of a spot. And I skipped right past that song. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And I really like that song off of Young Cardinals. I thought Midnight Regulations were really interesting. That's probably my favorite off of this one. That was my favorite reworked song. What about you, Josh? What do you think about Death Letter EP?
I don't really care for any of them.
Yeah. And I didn't, when we talked about in the last episode about, this album coming up on this episode, you had referenced Cancer Bats 2 EPs that they sent out in 2020, the Separation Sessions or whatever it's called. And those were good. Those were good reworkings.
Yes, I enjoyed.
This is just like, I don't know what's going
those.
on. Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of this album.
There's
a couple of good things, but
4 Year Strong has an album where they cover all of their own stuff, but they do like, I don't want to say just acoustic. There's definitely like some strings and like piano and stuff in there at times.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just a softer version.
There you go. Yeah,
and unplugged.
Unplugged. Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
that's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, that's really good and that I enjoy. But yeah, I'm open to those reinterpretation albums, but I'm not feeling this one.
Yeah,
and this is just like where it really becomes super evident to me. Like Dog's Blood's weird, and you're kind of like, okay, like this is odd. Like, I don't know, it almost felt a little bit like He Is Legend Few, but like it's a fine line, and it was on the other side of it. Like the album Few is like weird, and it like kind of it falls to the good side, but this album, but Dog's Blood was weird and kind of like lean into the other side for me, So I don't know. And then we get here, and I'm just kind of like,
I would have rather. I mean, this is supposed to be kind of like, it's in the title, Death Letter. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of a send off for the fans, but it's kind of like, yeah, I would have rather you just, do the tour and just be done with it. Why do you have to put this out? You
Yeah.
know, if you want to do acoustic stuff, just do it live on your solo stuff. You know, especially with Dallas, it's like just do it live in your own stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's
I don't
they're
know. I
making
don't
some interesting choices.
yeah. And it's just not for me. Like this one just didn't work for me, you know.
Mhm.
I don't want to say that it's like complete shit or anything like that. It just didn't work for me.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure there's people that love this album, and that's fine. You just go on loving it. We won't.
I
Yeah.
mean, numbers wise, it has a little bit more on each track than Dog's Blood did.
But I would
Um,
attribute that just because it's like these are songs that are already in their discography, though. They're not new,
yeah,
you know, and people always want to hear, oh, what's this song going to sound like this way, you know?
yeah.
So I would give it that, but that's just me. So, alrighty, that is 2012's Send Off for a hiatus Death Letter EP. Now, while on hiatus, Unclean vocalist George Petit would decide to become, drumroll please, a firefighter. Years later, after the hiatus had ended, he commented that being a firefighter was his top priority over the band. Interesting. Wonder if that plays a part into how we don't hear a whole lot of his vocals on the newest album. Who knows? In 2014, their self-titled debut album would be remastered and re-released. Did you get a chance to listen to that one, Josh?
No.
Me either. Moving on. In 2015.
I mean, it's just a remaster, isn't it? It's not a
Yeah,
re-recording.
yeah.
Yeah, who gives a
I'm
shit?
sure it was good though. Turn the bass
Remastering, that just means
turn the
more
bass up just a little
tricks.
bit and you're good.
More, yeah, that just means more bullshit. It's not re-recorded. I don't care. I don't care.
Oh man, in 2015, the band reunited and embarked on tour for the first time since their farewell tour. McNeil would announce on stage that the band was back together, but later the statement was made that no plans for any future albums or tours were planned. So his comments were a little premature. He just got excited, you know, he's a little excited. He's like, "Yeah, we're getting back together. Man, we're back." No,
Wah,
subtle,
wah,
subtle,
wah.
subtle. After about 5 months after McNeil's statement, the band opted to release a live album, which was recorded at their final show of their farewell tour back in 2012, entitled "Live at Cops," which was um, recorded at Cops Coliseum, maybe Copes. I think it's Copes actually, Copes Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah,
Not
periphery,
Canadian. Don't
periphery, you
know.
know, tomato, tomato. Great line, grand line. What's the difference?
They were in
Anyway,
OKC a few days ago.
Under Oath. Oh yeah, yeah,
Periphery.
yeah. Oh, Periphery. Yeah,
Well,
with
both
Under
of
Oath.
them, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was talking about periphery.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. When I said that, a great line versus the grand line, it's like the grand line is like the best choice or like great value of define the great line.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
I
like
was
I don't know why I
thinking
just think of that.
I was thinking for some reason with the album artwork of this other album that it could easily be confused with Arrivals and Departures.
Which album?
The Grand Line.
Oh, okie
It
dokie.
just feels like there should be like some trains on the cover.
Some trains on there. Okay. The next 3 years were spent touring across the globe for the band, but in 2019, teasers started to roll out on the band's social media pages. One teaser saw the band post 3 elusive black pictures. Ooh, mysterious. Here's a black picture. Okay, what am I supposed to? Actually, it's pretty interesting. Check this out, Josh. So,
Is it just nothing like this?
Well, without your name, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Nice. Everybody go look that name up. Yeah, so you got three black pictures. In order to see what was hidden in the pictures, the brightness and contrast of the image would need to be manipulated. So you got to put the work in if you want the biscuit, you know. Got to risk it for the biscuit.
I kind of like this, but
It's kind of
it doesn't
interesting.
really feel worth it because I know what's
Yeah,
coming.
it's yeah, exactly. Well, maybe if you didn't know the future, you'd be a little more
Kind
excited.
of just feel like it doesn't fucking matter.
So each picture revealed a number, the number 2, 15, and 19, which would lead to a new song, First in 9 Years, being dropped on February 15th, 2019, entitled Familiar Drugs. Right after that, two more standalone singles would follow in the months to come, Complicit and Season of the Flood. I give personally, it's just my opinion, I give all three of those a thumbs down. I was not
Yeah,
impressed.
no,
I was like,
I
this
agree
is
with
it.
you.
This
I
is this is what I changed the contrast of the image to find out. Wow. I
where
risked
did
it.
they get where do you get the pictures from?
It was on their social media pages.
Oh,
That'd
okay.
be
So
like
yeah,
Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking like they released physical pictures like out
Just
there.
randomly. Here's a photograph. What? It's black. What do I do with this?
They just like
How are you
dump
gonna
them from a
wait? Hold on a
helicopter.
second. How are you gonna change the contrast of a physical picture?
No idea. There's people in like dark rooms and shit with
Yeah, I
these little
guess.
pictures, like trying to figure out when the next track's coming out.
You have to be a serial killer with a dark room to
Yeah.
figure out when the next single is coming out.
I don't know. I listened to these in that order.
Mhm.
Familiar Drugs, Complicit, and Season of the Flood. I didn't like Season of the Flood, obviously, because that's the third track. Like if you put them
It's the
together,
closest.
that's um that's the instrumental, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but if I have to pick one of these, I guess maybe um Familiar Drug, I guess.
Nobody's
I
holding
even
a gun
say
to your
that
head.
very reluctantly. I don't want to pick any of these, but if I had to.
Okay. Like every other band in 2020, Alexis on Fire was limited to what it could do, so it opted to release a watch party on YouTube, viewing the final show of their farewell tour in 2012. They're really milking this
let
final
me
show in 2012. I don't understand.
let me say this. It's a bad sign for your band. And I'm sorry, but it's a bad sign for your band whenever you start only putting out EPs and then you're only releasing like singles every now and again. It's
Yeah,
over. It's
that's not a good
over.
sign.
Yeah. It's fucking
It's
over
over, man.
because a single dude does almost nothing for me. You know, it's about the song before and the song after. And
Right.
hearing a
And it's
single,
connectivity and it's flow.
yeah, it does nothing for me. Oh, that was one thing that I wanted to say about Old Crows, Young Cardinals, though, that just came to me because of that. Um, they at least at one time were really good about flowing
Mm,
each of their songs,
songs.
and not many people do that anymore. There's a lot of like standalone songs
Mm.
on albums, and I get why you would do that because you want people to know what track they're listening to, not be
I get
confused,
that, but I
you
mean,
know.
yeah, but it feels, I don't like that feeling. It
I
feels
don't either.
choppy. It's like an album's supposed to be a story
Yeah,
from front to finish, and it's like it should
in
be
some
one
way.
continuous, right? I mean, I'm not saying it has to be a concept album. I'm not saying that, but it's like I would like to feel that like I'm on a journey from track one to track, from track A to track Z, you know,
Yeah.
and have it flow and not, I mean, Did we talk about before about the one of the worst ways to end a song is a fade out?
It depends
Yeah,
because,
I was
and
gonna
that's
say
what we
it's
talked about
not
too.
every time,
Yeah, the
but
fade out's
in
not
some cases.
great, but if the band keeps going, like then I'm okay with with a fade out, you know? I guess I don't know. I guess you can't really do a fade out if they didn't keep playing, you know?
Yeah, I don't
What
know.
the one that always comes to mind for me
You could
um
just hit one note and then just fade that out.
is to flagship.
Yeah,
Because at the end, it's still playing the main riff from the song, like everything's still going like normal. The band is not stopping, but the music is fading out like you are leaving that song. You know, like it's
right.
continuing. It that story continues to exist, but you're leaving it.
I'm so glad you brought up O Sleeper because I thought I was listening to him the other day and I found, well, we talked about before about how connected their discography is in terms of like lyrics and everything. Like
Mhm.
a lot of times they'll reuse, like the one that I can always think of is they use Face 'em One on 1000 a couple of times. Um but I found another one. They use a line from Sirens. Is it Siren? Sirens? Anyway, it's from their first album. Um
When I'm God.
yeah, the Siren song. There's a lyric at the very end of Siren song where he says, "Don't turn, we need you," and they use that line again as a main line in um, the song "Fisher" on their newest album.
What was the line again?
Um, don't turn, we need you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of towards the very end of Siren's song.
Don't turn, we need you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's actually a Bane and disease, not Fisher. Um, But I mean, I love those Sleeper how they do that, man. They just their discography is so connected. It's just so
It
cool.
helps.
I mean,
It like
little
keeps
callbacks
people
like that.
invested, I think.
Right. Yes. Come on. I was gonna try to look that up real quick. Da, 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 da.
Man, it's every
Mm,
element. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, like even their album artwork past Cardinals, because I'm just like, I'm not feeling any of that album art either.
right.
It's all a miss. It is all a miss for me.
Damn
Oh,
it.
we haven't even talked about otherness.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I was prolonging the inevitable. Uh So, okay, so you got that in 2020. Finally, in June of 2021, Green stated that Alexisonfire was, quote, trying to get all these new songs together for the first time in like 10 years, quote. So that makes me think that these are supposedly the heavy songs that they talked about right after Dog's Blood. And if that's the truth, no,
The
just
only
no.
arguably heavy song on this entire album
But
is
reverse the
Reverse the
curse.
Curse.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Yeah, 2000
I would argue against it.
2022's Otherness from Dine Alone Records, produced by the band and the band only. Described, it's described
It
as
can
a,
go one of two ways. It'll be the best album you ever put
yeah,
out, or it'll be the worst piece of shit that anyone has ever done.
it's described as a post-hardcore slash neo psychedelia album.
Neo psychedelia.
You ever heard of neo psychedelia?
No.
So I guess apparently I tried looking this up. I guess apparently it was a big deal. Let me see if I can get it again here real quick. Uh, you spell it. Why don't
Let
you
me
talk about
guess.
the
In the 70s.
Yeah, I was about to say it's more kind of like a 60s and 70s thing.
Like an acid rock type.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
I don't know.
Okay.
None of this album works for me.
Okay, it's a diverse genre of psychedelic music that draws inspiration from the sounds of the 60s psychedelia, either updating or copying the approaches from that era. Originating in the 70s, it has occasionally seen mainstream pop success, but is typically explored within alternative rock scenes. Initially developed as an outgrowth of the British post punk scene, where it was also known as acid punk. After post punk, neo psychedelia flourished into a more widespread and international movement of artists who applied the spirit of psychedelic rock to new sounds and techniques. Um, okay, may also include forays into psychedelic pop, jangly guitar rock, heavily distorted freeform jams, or recording experiments. Hmm. Let's see some of these bands here. Arctic Monkeys is under this. Foster the People, Empire of the Sun, Kid Cudi. No, and your favorite, your personal favorite, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. My Morning Jacket. Okay, MGMT. Let's see.
Yeah, fuck this
Oasis.
whole genre.
Oasis. What
I'm
is
gonna pull
happening?
Arctic Monkeys out to the side and give them a pass, but I'm gonna say fuck the rest of this genre.
Um, hmm, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. But hey, Josh, did you know that just last week? No, not just last week. I'm sorry. Just a couple of weeks ago, when we were doing our final episode of the Cancer Bats, this album, Josh, this album right here, 2020's Otherness, self-produced by the band, won Rock Album of the Year at the 2023 Juno Awards. What say you,
Ew.
Josh?
Against who? Who were the other albums?
I don't think there were anything good.
Was Cancer
Let's
Bat's
see.
newest one up there?
Yeah, they were nominated for an award, but they didn't get it. Let's see.
I would rather have heard the other Cancer Bats album than this one.
Oh, come on. I want to see. There's plus nominees.
What was that? Psychic Bong or some bullshit?
It's like a jailbreak.
Okay, okay.
What did I say? Rock album of the year, right?
Yeah.
Pop rock. Okay,
The
so
song was Lonely Bong. That was it.
they beat out Billy Talent, who has 5 members now. I didn't realize they had 5 members. Huh. Okay, so they beat out Billy Talent's album Crisis of Faith. They beat out 3 Days Grace Explosions. They beat out some band called the Sheepdogs, which they look like a mixture of country and 70s acid rock. That's weird. And then they did beat out, and this should tell you how bad this album is by this band. They beat out Nickelback's Get Rollin'.
I would rather have heard.
Get Rollin'
No, I don't think
by
I'd go that
Nickelback?
far. I would have rather have heard the new 3 Days Grace album than listen to this one. I would have gladly given that one a shot and still would in exchange for not having to listen to this one again.
Songs on this album include Committed to the Con, Sweet Dreams of Otherness, San Solil, I think that's how you say that, Conditional Love, Blue Spade, Dark Night of the Soul, Mistaken Information, Survivor's Guilt, Reverse the Curse, and World Stops Turning. You've said a lot on this album, Josh.
Terrible.
Did you empty the tank yet, or do you still have some bullets left?
I mean, that's pretty much everything I have. I skipped through several of these tracks because like I was like, no. And then I'd like skip like a minute in. And I'm like, this is just not what I came here for.
This is not
You know?
Alexis on Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, just
Um,
like I just feel like personally, I just feel like it's almost like a City and Keller album. It's not Alexis on Fire, man.
yeah.
There's barely any unclean vocals. So I don't, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to listen to this album again. I gave it two shots. I listened to it two times through.
You're a trooper.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of songs that I like. I do like Reverse the Curse. World Stop Turning was okay. What was the
Reverse
other
the
one?
Curse feels like something off of like the newest He Is Legend album.
Right. San Salil and Conditional Love were okay too. Yeah, I don't know. I could see myself putting it on like way in the background just to have some music going.
And like a few rooms over.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm not turning this on and or getting in my car and going, yeah, you know what? I wanna listen to Alexis on Fire's newest album. I want to jam out to that today. That's what I'm feeling. No, that's not gonna happen.
No,
That's
definitely
not gonna
not.
happen. But I don't know. I mean, it's still pretty new, so if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out yourself, form your own opinion. Um, we don't we don't recommend it.
I don't
But,
recommend this one, you know.
yeah. What album do you recommend, Josh, out of their discography? To a brand new
Um,
listener, I think you said it in the last episode, but I don't remember. What's their most accessible album, Josh, in your opinion?
accessible, I would say probably Crisis.
Okay.
For me though, I'm gonna say my favorite's probably the self-titled.
Self-titled. It's a good one.
Yeah, before I probably would have said Crisis, but having listened to it like a few times, I think I prefer the self-titled.
Yeah. Cool, man.
What's your
Alrighty,
favorite?
well, favorite album?
Hmm.
I don't know if I really have a favorite album. I mean, I love those first four.
Yeah.
Self-titled, Watch Out, Crisis, and Old Crows, Young Cardinals. And I just like I said in the last episode and as I've repeated in this episode, all four of those, turn them on, listen from A to Z and not skip a beat. Um, but yeah, I don't have one that just like jumps out at me and be like, yes, this is my album that I pick out of their discography. I like all
Okay.
four of those. So again, I think the only ones that I really didn't like a whole lot is Otherness, and I didn't like their Death Letter EP. I was good with Dog's Blood. I could play that a couple of times. Um, yeah, that's what I say. You got anything else, Josh? Final words on Alexis on Fire?
No, just, you know, listen to it for yourself, see what you think. Um, if the second half works for you, the first half probably doesn't. It's just, what era of this band are you going to be into?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I'd say give it a listen through. It's not their entire discography is only like
There's only
maybe
four out 4.
3 hours.
Yeah, I was supposed to say it's very short.
Yeah,
Only
at the
four full
most.
length albums, and they're all around 40 to 43 minutes long each. So,
Yeah.
do you remember what was the do you remember what the timing was on Otherness? I didn't even get to see it.
It was like 45, 50 minutes.
What's the are you still on Spotify there?
Hmm.
What's the numbers on Otherness? I mean, again, it's still pretty new.
I mean, 1 million on the first track, almost 4 on the second track, almost 4 on the third.
Million?
Yeah,
Okay.
million on Conditional Love, million on Blue Spade,
It's almost a year
almost a
old.
million on Dark Knight, and then 680,000, 619,000, 1,800,000. So, I mean, even let's go back to Young Cardinals. I mean, Young Cardinals, other than the track Young Cardinals, like numbers wise, this is pretty much right there with it.
Okay.
So even though Young Cardinals has time on its side, like Otherness is still has done almost as many plays,
Yeah.
so, which is
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Well, I kind of like Cancer Bats too. I mentioned it. It's like, I mean, we have to think that this is a band from a different country. There's no telling, how that country, um, what I'm trying to say. I mean, we're American. I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, I would say Alexisonfire is more popular than Cancer Bats here in the States, but um, I mean, obviously they won an award and they won multiple awards and got certified for a lot of albums. So I mean, there's a lot of desire for them up there in Canada. So I don't know. I would just kind of think about that when it's like, but I don't
I
really
just
like this or
wonder
that. But
if they have like a lot more like new fans who are attracted to their new sound, or if it's older fans who like that
just gave
sound
it a
now,
shot. Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's true. Well, like
I
you
don't
said,
know.
people change, so your tastes change and your likes and such. So, well, alrighty, let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @IsSurvivedByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, but our other shows too. We have the History of the Cores After Hours podcast, which is where I sit down with my good friend and avid listener Eric to discuss some of the bands that me and Josh have already talked about and get a perspective from a listener's point of view. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which covers all 6 seasons, and hopefully sooner or later the upcoming movie of the hit show The Peaky Blinders.
Has there been
And
any news about that?
not really. I mean, it just keeps saying the same thing about production supposed to be starting this year on it. So at least something. But yeah, now I keep looking every once in a while, but nothing really. There's more news about the musical, The Peaky Blinders, than anything, which is really weird. But
I kind of like that. We could cover some stuff on that.
okay, we might have to look at that, and
How
we'll
can
have
we
to look
see
into
this?
that. We'll have to go over there to England, and we'll
Oh,
have to buy a ticket.
no
I
shows
don't
out
know.
here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's all over there. I don't know. We'll have to. I'll do some more digging into that. Maybe we can do a couple episodes about it.
Okay.
We also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which is where we have covered season 1 and soon to be season 2 of House of the Dragon from HBO. 2 updates. One, I finished Game of Thrones, which I told you. So I'm a little more up to date and a little more knowledgeable than I was in the first season of House of the Dragon. And 2, what's the status on our newest episode of Aegon's Conquest series?
I'm pretty much good to go.
Okay, we
Yeah,
just
we can
gotta get
really
it
do it
scheduled.
whenever. Yeah.
Okay, cool, man, cool. Also, while you were on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host at Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to see us or listen to us and see our smiling faces, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and that'll have every episode from all of our shows that I mentioned just previously. Subscribe to the channel and thumbs up the video. We also have, for you Spotify listeners, we also have polls up on each episode, questions, so make sure to interact with that because we would love to get your guys' interactions on each episode. All right, are you ready for the next band, Josh?
I'm
Do you
ready.
remember who we're doing about?
Did I say cancer bats? Or no?
Cancer Bats 2.
Again.
Again.
Comeback Kid.
Comeback Kid. Yes. Yep. We will be talking about the Canadian band Comeback Kid. We can't get enough of these Canadian bands right now.
Where's that Canadian Invasion sound clip?
It's coming. It's coming. I was going to have it ready for this one, but I didn't get enough time. So it should be here for the next one. So make sure to come back for that episode where we talk about the Canadian band
Canadian Invasion.
Come on back for some more Canadian Invasion. Until then, we'll see you. Oh, you're not gonna say bye? Okay, bye.
Bye.